What's going on, guys? If you don't know me, my name is Jaime and I am an entrepreneur who's on the path to get to $1 million a month. This will be one of the most unscripted channels in all of YouTube. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to be as authentic and as clear and as transparent as possible to show you what the life actually looks like of somebody trying to build a 8-figure company. I've made multi 7 figures over the last several years, but I've never hit $1 million a month. And I believe I have the team, I have the partners, and we have the infrastructure to get there. But just because you have all that, it doesn't mean you will actually accomplish the goal that you want, whether that's 10K a month, 100K a month, or $1 million a month. And so part of the reason why I started sharing all these videos at the beginning of the year was because I want to show you guys like what's it actually going to take, right? We're 26, 27 days into the month. We're still nowhere near $1 million a month, right? But I know that it can switch very, very quickly. And again, like one of the biggest things that I've learned since becoming an entrepreneur is that it's not about the information. It's not about the knowledge that you know, right? Because we all know how to get more energy, right? You just sleep 8 to 9 hours a day, you eat healthy, and you'll have the energy. But for whatever reason, we don't do it, right? I'll give you another example. We all know how to lose weight. I'll say, maybe not everybody, let's say 90% of people. Pretty straightforward. The simplest way is you eat clean and you work out and you'll lose weight, right? There's obviously slightly more advanced methods that allow you to eat a little bit of everything, but we're not gonna get into that, right? The point is that for the most part, even the most uneducated people, when it comes to health and fitness, know how to lose weight, right? But for whatever reason, we just never do it. And so I want to share with you guys everything I've ever learned, because if you don't learn these things, it's going to become very, very difficult to create the life of your dreams. And so today I was thinking, I'm like, man, what am I going to share with them that can absolutely change their lives? And so I'm going to go over a few things that I believe that if you put these like on your whiteboard or on your mirror or on the screenshot of your phone or whatever, and you remember this, it will give you a very, very clear vision as to what you need to do to actually accomplish that goal. Okay, so I'm gonna go over exactly why none of you guys are winning. Okay, I'm joking. Some of you guys are winning. And honestly, I'm kind of winning, but even I'm not really winning. And it's because of these 3 things. And even I have to remind myself to get clear on these things. I've noticed that part of the reason why most people don't win and actually accomplish the goal that they want is because they're just completely lost. So when I say they're completely lost, I mean like they have an idea of what they want to do. Like they have some type of vision, they kind of want to dabble into a couple things, but the idea is not clear. Like your idea has to be so crystal clear, you can explain it to a 5-year-old. It has to be so crystal clear that anybody that you invite into your business to either work for you or help you build it, either whether as an entrepreneur, as a contractor, whatever the case is, like it has to be super clear to them. And for example, like I'm in the business of Amazon, right? And I'm never gonna forget this. I knew that I met this guy last year, and he asked me like, hey, what do you do for work? And I told him, I was like, hey, I have a service where I help people sell online. We have partners that basically work with brands. We find the products for them, we sell it to them, blah, 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 blah. And he goes like, oh, you have a pretty simple business. And then I go like, what do you mean? And like, cause in my head, I'm like, well, it's not that easy. Like it's easy, but it's not that easy. This guy just like that one sentence absolutely blew my mind. I had to really think about it for a few weeks. Yeah, surprisingly a few weeks, because I just could not comprehend why he said this. And look, I'll say this, some people can either just comprehend things a lot easier, but I think it's also the way I explained it. Like if I really simplify my business and I become very clear as to the steps from step 1 all the way to step 50 as to what it's going to take to actually win at providing this service and getting to my goal, then it's pretty crystal clear, right? So when I told him what I did, the specific part of the business, which was selling products on Amazon and on Walmart and eBay and different platforms like that, he goes like, okay, well, you basically find the brands, you find the authorized distributors, you open up contracts with them, accounts with them, you get a list of their SKUs, you check what actually sells, what doesn't sell, what is profitable based on the price they give you and what it's going to sell on, and then you buy it, and then you ship it to your warehouse, and then you ship it when it sells. And I was like, I mean, well, yeah, it really is just that simple, right? Imagine if your business idea or the goal that you have set is so crystal clear that you know exactly what needs to happen on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, on a month-to-month basis, and to the point where every single person that works with you or is helping you attain that, whatever that goal that is crystal clear on it. So I'll give you another example. Let's say somebody says, hey, I want to make 10K a month, right? Or hey, I want to make more money. Let's just say that. I want to make more money. Okay, great. You want to make more money. But exactly how much money do you want to make, right? Like they don't even know how much money they want to make. Another example would be like, hey, I want to make $10,000 a month. But even then it's like, okay, how are you going to make the $10,000 a month? What are you going to sell? For how much? How many clients do you need to bring in? For every client that you bring in, how many people do you need to talk to? For every people that you talk to, what kind of marketing do you need to run behind that to actually get these leads to walk in? And right, so you have to get very granular with everything, and it has to just become like crystal clear. Like honestly, like it's really just a numbers game, and it's a mindset. Like business, everything that you're trying to accomplish. I use business all the time because it's really what I'm involved in the most. Really what I'm trying to get you guys to see here, like it's a mindset thing. Business is a mindset thing. The goals that you're trying to accomplish is a mindset thing. People who make it to the NBA, for example, mindset, right? We talk about this, I mentioned this many times before, where you can have somebody who is a natural athlete who just has crazy genetics, but they don't even make it to the pros, let alone the Hall of Fame. Right? But the person who has this just absolute locked in mindset and knows exactly what they need to do, they actually get there a lot easier than others. The other thing is that usually people like to think and say that, hey, I have a pretty clear vision of like what I want to do. They're doing 5 other things, right? They maybe they have their regular job that they're doing, and hey, look, I'll say this, that you probably need, because if you need cash, but then you're trying to build this business and the third business. Then you're trying to become a marathon runner. Then you're trying to lose weight. Then you're trying to coach people. Then you're trying to do all these things. And so now you're diluting yourself and not putting all your focus into one. Again, that still falls under the clarity category, which is the first one that I'm talking about. If you're not crystal clear, how are you actually going to get there? Imagine you're competing against somebody, right? Whatever that goal is for you, literally whatever the goal, you're competing against somebody where they spend 12 hours a day literally doing and thinking that one thing, while you are spending those 12 hours dabbling into 5 different things, right? You think you're clear, you think you know what you want, but if you know what you want, then why aren't you putting all your attention into it? That's also a part of clarity. Was for sure one of those people. When I first started, before I ever even made $100,000 in a year, I was trying to run and start 5 businesses at the same time. Like thinking about it now, back then, I'm like, that was kind of stupid, because I knew very little of entrepreneurship. I knew very little about marketing, very little about sales, very little about operations, very little about the specific business that I wanted to do. So how in the world was I ever going to actually excel at that one? Eventually it clicked for me. I read this book called The One Thing. I forgot the name of the author, but you guys should look it up. Ever since I read that book, it completely changed my perception as to how I should attack my goals. And it's basically what it's saying is like, focus on one thing. Like just do one thing, that one thing alone, and nothing else. That's also being clear on what you're trying to accomplish. The third thing behind clarity is not letting other people's opinions get in your way. There is a time and a place where you should definitely have mentors and ask people who've actually gotten there for their opinion. People who have accomplished things at a very high level in anything have always had mentors, right? So you do need a mentor, because that mentor is going to guide you to focus on the right thing. But when you start letting dozens of people, whether it's your family, your friends, coworkers, or anybody else, give you advice as to how to attack those goals or what to do, what are the chances that they're actually going to know what they're talking about? And now look, there are some people that are very gifted and can just see very clearly and might actually be able to give you advice if they haven't done it. So there's always that chance, right? So I'm not saying there isn't, because I've learned a lot of things from people who know nothing about business, but you have to be able to pinpoint and dissect and really get clear on who you're getting that opinion from, right? Because not everybody's opinion is always going to be valid. Let me rephrase this. Everybody's opinion is valid, but not everybody's opinion will actually guide you towards the path that you're trying to go on. And again, that also finds behind clarity. If you're not crystal clear on what that is, you're gonna get stuck and you're gonna stall and you're never actually gonna get there. Okay, so now the second thing. So the second thing that I've realized that, and again, all these 3 things that I'm mentioning are all things that I went through, and are also things that I've realized why I wasn't winning and most people don't win. And that is that you don't have the right plan. And what do I mean by the right plan? By the right plan, it basically means that you're just doing trial and error and seeing what sticks. Will that work eventually? I mean, possibly, right? So let me give you an example about what trial and error is. So like when it comes to trial and error, right? I don't know if you guys ever shot a basketball. I can stand at the free throw line. I can keep throwing the ball and just throwing the ball. Eventually, I'm going to make the ball, right? It's trial and error. But what if I actually build the right plan and learn what actually makes a good free throw shooter, right? The way I stand, the way my feet are positioned. And look, I'm not a basketball player, right? But just from the little that I know, the way my wrist is turning, how high I'm shooting the ball, how high the arc is, right? There's now multiple different distinctions that I can look at and have a plan of what actually needs to get better. And then I can now start focusing on each one and practice. I can practice my stance every time. I can practice my foot positioning every time. I can practice how high my elbow is and just focus on that. I can practice on how I'm, moving my wrist to make sure the basketball goes in. And so like now there's a clear plan instead of just throwing the ball every time and hoping that it goes in at one point. The other thing when it comes to having the right plan is that, guys, like I'm sure you guys have heard this before, do not reinvent the wheel. There are things out there where maybe you do have to somewhat reinvent the wheel, right? Like when Elon Musk first started Starlink, like to a certain degree, nobody had ever done that. People and companies had done parts of what he was trying to do. Internet already existed, satellites already existed, they knew how they orbited, and I'm not a space exploration person, right? Or anything to do with space or robotics or anything like that, or rockets for the matter. He had an idea of what are the main components that would actually get Starlink to work, right? He needs to make sure that the internet's actually gonna connect from thousands of miles up in the air, or hundreds, whatever that is. And at the same time that the satellites are actually gonna stay where they need them to stay, right? And I'm sure a whole bunch of other things. He didn't have to reinvent the wheel necessarily for that, right? There's already data and tech and science that exists that will give him an idea of how that's gonna work. So imagine if he was trying to rebuild that and all those things that already exist, he was trying to figure them out from scratch. It would probably take forever, right? There's a reason why he brings in the experts that specialize in all these different things, because he'll actually be able to get there quicker. And so a lot of us end up just kind of throwing a dart, blindfolded, like hoping that it sticks. There's gonna be times where you might have to do that, right? Don't get me wrong. There's gonna be times where you just have absolutely no idea. But if you remember and you just keep reminding yourself, if I can ask somebody, if I can do some research on how exactly this one step towards these 10 steps works, you'll actually get there quicker. The other thing is that, again, we're talking about doing the right research, right? So you can actually implement the right plan. The thing that people also get stuck on when it comes to having the right plan and following through with that plan is that you get so caught up reading dozens and dozens of books and podcasts and content and audiobooks and all this stuff, but you never actually implement anything. Imagine that you're like, hey, I'm gonna start a business and I'm gonna read these 10 business books. And it takes you, 10 months to read these books, 10 weeks to read these books. But after 10 weeks, you're like, you know what? I need another 10 books. I need to read these 10 other books. I heard these books are really good. Now you just wasted 10 weeks or 10 months trying to start a business and you still haven't actually started a business, right? You don't have to read an entire book to know that. Like, you just have to know what the next step is. And so if you can get an idea of what those next 10 steps are to get to that goal, find the information of that step one and then do it right away. So, because if you never actually implement that one step, you're gonna be stuck forever, right? So you can be as clear as you want, right? Which is the first part that I talked about. But in the second step, if you don't have a clear step-by-step process and implementation process of how you're gonna do it, and you don't actually implement, and again, you're not going to win. And before I go on to the third thing, like, you guys have to really focus on inertia and momentum, right? And again, this is where the implementation comes in, because you can learn all this stuff, but you'll notice that as soon as you start implementing and the more steps that you take, you start building this inertia, this energy, this momentum, where you actually start flowing quicker and faster, and your subconscious and your mind will start giving you the answers you think you don't have, but are actually already there. Because guys, like, we have learned so much over our entire lives. All that information is stored in here, but we forget. Like, obviously, like, some of us don't have crazy photographic memory, but for the most part, all that information is there. When you start building momentum, you will move at such lightning speed. It is crazy. And so now let's go on to the third thing, which is the third and final thing that I think if you really focus on these three things, you'll be able to create the life that you want as fast as possible and actually win. So the third thing is taking massive action. Now look, I've touched a little bit on this already on step one and on step two, but step three is probably, I don't even want to say it's the most important one. They're all super important, but at the same time, you can be crystal clear. You can have a crazy business plan, a crazy SOP, a crazy system as to how you're gonna get to whatever that goal that is. But if you never do anything about it, nothing's ever gonna happen. And step three is taking action, right? So you have to not only take action and becoming clear as to what you wanna create, but also taking action and having the right plan that you're going to follow. But when you have that right plan, is now taking action on each of those individual steps that you have to take. And usually the reason why people don't take steps always comes down to fear, right? There's that hesitation that we all have where we're like, man, what if I get it wrong? What if it's not how you do it? You start just double guessing, triple guessing yourself, and then you never actually do anything. But again, how are you ever gonna know if it's gonna work if you don't actually do it, right? So again, there's this balance of like trial and error, but there's also this balance of taking action towards the right steps from the research that you've done, from the mentors that you've had, from any books that you've read, from anything you've ever heard from a podcast, to actually do the thing you say you're going to do. Again, I've also been, part of that, that part of that group. Like everything that I always tell you guys, like I've done it. I've done all these things. I've been stuck in so many ways like you guys can't even imagine. And so a lot of times when I first started, I had massive analysis paralysis. Like I could just not take action. Like I remember, again, when I started these 5 businesses, when I started, I literally had a crazy ass business plan. Like I had a business plan for each of these businesses. I had like 5 to 10 pages of information that I researched and steps that I had to take to make each of these happen. But guess what? I spent maybe 3 to 6 months doing this, and I became somewhat of I wouldn't say an expert, but I'd say pretty knowledgeable as to like how to create it. But then nothing happened. Like literally nothing. Because I was just like, I was consumed by so much information that I couldn't even decide what the next step was. And again, this is why we go back again to like focusing on one thing. When you focus on the one thing, whether it's that one business, that one game plan, that first step of 10 within that one business or that one goal that you're trying to do, you can just be like, okay, there's 1,000 things I got to do here, right? Within these 1,000 things, let's assume there's like 10 components to it. And within those 10 components, there's 10 tasks that I have to do. That's a lot. What if you just tell yourself, okay, let me focus on the first component. Let me just do this one thing. Let me actually take action on it, right? Let me open up the LLC. Okay, how to open up the LLC? Do some research. Okay, go apply for it, pay for it, wait for the documents. Like that in itself is like 3 to 5 steps for the first step of the first subsection to actually make that goal happen, right? So when we get super caught up in all these like micro steps, you will not move and you will lose, right? And it's not, again, like this is for anything in life, guys. Like anything in life, like you will get stuck if you don't actually take action. Usually the other component of why people don't take action separate from fear is they usually try and wait for motivation. Again, this happened to me as well, where I was just like, man, I'm just not feeling it. I'm tired. I got to think about it. I have a headache. And like, you know what? I should go work out. Like I feel like if I work out, I'll have motivation. Like guys, motivation is instant. Motivation is created within us. Like if you're waiting for an external factor to give you motivation and actually take action on something, sorry to say this, but you're gonna take your entire lifetime to actually create the life of your dreams. Like you have to just do it even when you don't want to. Like you have to find a system for yourself where like, how can I actually build momentum? How can I take action? How can I build motivation within myself? What if I just take one step towards my goal today, right? What if that one goal, one step just takes you 5 minutes? That's already momentum, right? And tomorrow you'll be like, you know what? Let me take 2 steps, right? They're each gonna take me 10 minutes. I'll pause. That might sound kind of slow, but it will help you still build momentum because now you're doing something daily and you're actually accomplishing tasks. So when you start doing that, that also builds momentum. That also builds motivation. That also starts releasing the fear that you have that you actually can't do something or that you might mess up, right? Because when you accomplish those things, you'll end up seeing like, oh man, I actually did this. Like I'm actually a step closer now. Like, and so you start building confidence within yourself to prove to yourself that like, I can actually do this. Like I'm actually getting closer and like, yes, I might still be 100 miles away. I'm closer than I've ever been, right? And so that's where you build the momentum and really where I highly advise that you guys take action. And so, and to really, to summarize this and I'm gonna give you guys another hint. This is not a 4th category that I think where people get stuck on, but it's something that I believe that can bypass all the things we're talking about, right? Once you get super clear and you have an idea, is to start taking action immediately, right? Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait for the perfect mentor. Don't wait for the perfect research. Like if you just wait days and weeks and months till you build out all this clarity, if you've never actually accomplished something big in your life, it's going to be hard. Like it's going to be hard to build momentum because you don't have that self-confidence. Usually the reason why I like using athletes as an example, because I used to be somewhat of an athlete growing up. Like I've always been into sports. I was never super athletic, so I'll say that. It was really the mental attitude that you had towards that goal, where imagine like you start going to the gym, right? You start losing weight. You notice your waist is getting smaller. You notice you're getting stronger. You have momentum building. You're building confidence. You're like, man, I actually know what I'm doing now. Like I'm learning as I go. I have the right mentors or the right friends or the right people who've actually been fit before. And I'm going towards the right path and I'm actually making progress. When you start building that self-confidence, you'll be able to move so much quicker. If you're somebody who you feel like you're very confident and you know nothing's going to stop you in that way, then yes, by all means, like go for it. Take the action faster. And even for those of you that don't, the faster you take action, the faster you accomplish things, we build so much confidence as humans, you have no idea. Like you guys have to think about this. There has to be something out there that you're just so good at that you have crazy confidence at, right? Think about that one thing that you're so confident on. And the thing that you're trying to actually accomplish, you might not have the confidence, right? Because you've never done it. So now think back about those moments where you've been super confident in something. What did it actually take to get there? How did you view that goal? What did you do on a day-to-day basis? Were you having fun? Were you multitasking or not multitasking? Did you have somewhat of a plan? Were you spending 5 hours a day on it? Whatever the case is, you build confidence and you're able to do it. So if you guys focus on these 3 things, and which are getting clarity on what the goal is, having a clear action plan as to how you're gonna get there, and then taking massive action, I have no doubt that you'll actually accomplish the goal that you want. I really hope this helps you guys. And again, if there's anything you guys want me to talk about in any video, like drop a comment below and I will break down everything if I know about it. And even if I don't, I'll do the research and I'll give it to you guys. Look, again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a billionaire. I have not made hundreds of millions of dollars. What I do know is that the mindset that I've built to get to where I'm at, if you apply that into anything that you want to accomplish, there is no reason why you can't attain it. Well, all right, guys, I hope you guys loved the video and I'll see you guys in the next one.